Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Oh, hang on. Sorry. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America,
and to the republic
the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to the May 11th, 2020 meeting of Plymouth Township Council. Before we start, I just want to sort of review the procedures for audience participation. So I'm just going to sort of demonstrate real quick how this would work. So I don't know why that's still on there. Hold on a second. I'll just do it this way then. In the bottom of the screen, there's a label bar that says participants, chat, share screen, record, and reactions. If you click on participants, to the right of your name, if you click on your name, or if you hover over your name and you see the word more, I'm sorry, that's not right. If you, where is it? Oh, I'm sorry, it's on the bottom, So on the bottom of that participants list, there's a button that says raise hand. And as we ask for public comments or questions, you can raise your hand. And if there are any comments or questions, our moderator will let us know that your hand is raised. So again, that's under, if you go to participants and the list on the right-hand side pops up and you click on raise hand, that will let us know that you have a comment or question when we call for those. It's for members of the audience. Members of council don't need to do that. All right. Approval. Is there any public comment on the agenda to begin with? Okay. Approval of minutes. Approval of workshop meetings from April 6th, 2020. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion from Mr. Gannon. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Ms. Bramblett. Comments or questions from council? Comments or questions from the audience? All right, seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Gannon?
In favor.
Ms. Bandish?
In favor.
Ms. Bramblett?
In favor.
Mr. Higgins?
In favor.
And the chair votes in favor. Approval of minutes from the April 13th, 2020 regular meeting. Motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion for Mr. Higgins. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Ms. Bandish. Comments or questions from council? And comments or questions from the audience? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Ms. Bandish?
In favor.
Ms. Bramblett?
In favor.
Mr. Higgins?
In favor.
Mr. Gannon?
In favor.
And the chair votes in favor. Moving down to approval of departmental reports and bills. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
So moved.
Motion from Ms. Bramblett, second from Mr. Gannon. Comments or questions from council? And from the audience? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Ms. Bramblett?
In favor.
Mr. Higgins?
In favor.
Mr. Gannon?
In favor.
Ms. Bandish?
In favor.
And the chair votes in favor. Okay, going down to police and public safety, we have a few resolutions and commendations to share this evening. So I'll hand this first one over for National Police Week to Ms. Bandish.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Resolution. Whereas the Congress of the United States of America has designated the week of May 10th through the 17th, 2020 as National Police Week. And whereas Plymouth Township desires to honor the valor, service, and dedication of its own police officers. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Plymouth Township Council hereby proclaims the week of May 10th to the 17th, 2020 to be Police Week and calls upon all citizens in this community to especially honor and show their sincere appreciation for the police officers of this township. Be it further resolved that Plymouth Township Council likewise expresses its gratitude to the men and women in uniform who uphold the law, safeguard the citizenry, and make Plymouth Township a desirable place to live and work. Adopted this 11th day of May, AD 2020. I make a motion to approve.
A motion from Ms. Bandish. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Gannon. Comments or questions from council? Comments or questions from the audience? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Higgins?
In favor.
Ms. Bandish?
In favor.
Ms. Bramblett?
In favor.
Mr. Gannon?
In favor.
And the chair votes in favor. Next item is a commendation for Holly Donahue and Ms. Bramblett. That one goes to you.
Thank you. Commendation of merit. Whereas on March 16th, 2020, members of the Plymouth Township Police Department responded to Woodbrook Lane in reference to the report of a subject armed with a rifle who was threatening to commit suicide and who threatened to do so if he observed any law enforcement officers approaching his residence. And whereas Officer Holly Donahue, a trained crisis negotiator, responded and was able to make contact with the subject and establish a dialogue as she continued to communicate for the next 90 minutes, despite an initial lack of cooperation and being disconnected several times. And whereas Officer Donahue remained calm and resilient and was able to repeatedly reestablish communication with the subject, who eventually agreed to surrender to law enforcement without inflicting injury to himself or others. Now therefore be it resolved that Officer Holly Donahue be publicly commended for her intelligent and valuable police service, in which she demonstrated faithfulness and perseverance, and that her determined actions likely prevented the loss of life and injury. Be it further resolved that this resolution be entered on the official minutes of Plymouth Township, and that a copy of this commendation be publicly tendered to Officer Holly Donahue, adopted this 11th day of May 2020 by Plymouth Township Council. I make a motion that council approve this commendation of merit and enter it into the minutes.
Motion from Ms. Bramblett. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Ms. Bandish. Any comments or questions from council? Comments or questions from the audience? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Ms. Bramblett?
In favor.
Ms. Bandish?
In favor.
Mr. Gannon?
In favor.
Mr. Higgins?
In favor.
And the chair votes in favor. And then our third resolution under police and public safety is our Officer of the Year resolution for Andrew Monahan. And I'll turn that one over to Mr. Higgins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Officer Monahan, if you're out there, we're all very proud of you. I'd like to read the resolution. Police Officer of the Year 2019. Whereas Officer Andrew Monahan has performed diligently and faithfully the duties and services required of him by the Township of Plymouth. And whereas the performance of Officer Andrew Monahan was in the highest standard of the law enforcement profession. And whereas a vote has been taken by the Police Department supervisory staff to recognize Officer Andrew Monahan's outstanding contributions. Now therefore be it resolved that Officer Andrew Monahan is hereby commended for his diligent and valuable services. Be it further resolved that this resolution be entered into the official minutes of Plymouth Township, and that a copy of this commendation be publicly tendered to Officer Andrew Monahan. I've adopted this 11th day of May 2020. I make a motion to approve this resolution.
A motion from Mr. Higgins. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Second from Ms. Bramblett. Comments or questions from council? Comments or questions from the audience? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Gannon?
In favor.
Ms. Bandish?
In favor.
Mr. Higgins?
In favor.
Ms. Bramblett?
In favor.
And the chair votes in favor. Congratulations to Officer Andrew Monahan. And I believe at this time the chief would like to make a few remarks on these three resolutions.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. As we celebrate Police Week during a very challenging time, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank each and every one of my officers for their dedication and service to the community. Today, Plymouth Township Council acknowledges several achievements within the police department and formally thanks you all for your commitment to our residents, business people, and visitors. We honor the valor, service, and dedication of Plymouth police officers, calling upon all citizens in this community to show their sincere appreciation for all the township's officers. We acknowledge Officer Andrew Monahan as Plymouth Township's 2019 Police Officer of the Year, commending his diligent and valuable service. And we applaud Officer Holly Donahue for her perseverance while negotiating with a barricaded gunman who threatened the safety and well-being of our residents. In addition to the matters before council, I would like to recognize a group of officers who were integrally involved in the barricaded gunman on March 16th. Detective Sergeant Longo, Sergeant D. Donato, Detective McGee, Officers Marinello, Eppright, Wells, Phillips, Watts, Amato, and Lowry will all receive a letter of commendation for maintaining calm, keeping community members safe, and ensuring that the standoff was resolved without any injury to the subject, bystanders, or responding officers. Their actions were in the highest tradition of excellence of the Plymouth Township Police Department. We value your daily sacrifices, particularly over the last 2 months under very difficult circumstances. Stay well, stay safe, and I thank you on behalf of a grateful Plymouth Township community. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief. Chief, when you came on board last year, you made a lot of statements about things that you envisioned and ideas that you had. And I think one of the biggest themes that came about over and over again was your dedication to community policing and these pillars surrounding that. And as we just kind of sit here and, not just during this recent time that we're in, but really throughout your time, I see this great emphasis on interacting with the community and allowing your officers to be seen in a light that maybe, they wouldn't normally, and that we don't normally see interactions between the township and the police officers. And I think that's going a long way. And it makes situations such as, that one on Woodbrook probably a lot easier when we have residents in the community that need us and that trust your officers to work with them. And I just want to thank you for everything that you've been doing, that your officers have been doing, putting smiles on people's faces, certainly when they need them the most. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving down to Public Works and Sewer, we have a resolution for National Public Works Week, and I'm going to hand that one over to Mr. Gannon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Whereas the public works services provided in Plymouth Township are an integral part of the residents' everyday lives, whereas the health, safety, comfort, and quality of life for Plymouth Township residents greatly depends on these facilities and services, and whereas the members of Plymouth Township Public Works Department are vital to the efficient operation and maintenance of public works systems and programs, including sanitary, storm sewers, streets, snow removal, solid waste, recycle collection, public buildings, and all township vehicles. And whereas the quality and effectiveness of these facilities and services, as well as their planning, design, construction, are vitally dependent upon the efforts and skill of public works personnel. Now, therefore, be it resolved that in recognition of National Public Works Week, May 17th through 23, 2020, all members of the Public Works Department shall be commended for their performance. And be it further resolved that this resolution be entered on the official minutes of Plymouth Township, and that a copy of this resolution be publicly tendered to the Public Works Department, adopt this 11th day of May, AD 2020, and make a motion that we approve this.
Okay, motion from Mr. Gannon. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Higgins. Comments or questions from council? Comments or questions from the audience? Okay, seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Gannon?
In favor?
Ms. Bramblett?
In favor?
Ms. Bandish?
In favor?
And the chair votes in favor. And we have Chris LaChiava here. So again, Chris, just want to echo some of the thoughts. Again, a lot of things have stopped in our society lately, but the need for public works has certainly not. As a matter of fact, it's probably only increased. We probably have the cleanest basements and the cleanest garages and houses in this township that we ever had, but that's certainly putting a little bit more work for your guys. And we've had a lot of wind, a lot of storms, and probably a lot of cleanup throughout the township. So it's just great to see that all those guys continue to show up to work every day and do it proudly, and continue to be certainly a beacon of light in the township, and this Public Works Week resolution is definitely very well deserved. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Moving down, engineering, Mr. Monahan, anything for the group tonight?
Mr. Chairman, there's nothing to report tonight.
Okay, thank you.
Chris, we have one more item, B, under Public Works.
Oh, I skipped. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I just wanted to get Lonnie involved really quick, Derek.
Okay.
We do have another item under Public Works, request to add Narcissa Road to our annual paving, and I'm going to hand that one over to Ms. Bramblett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The street paving budget in 2020 is $300,000. In an effort to watch spending, the township has switched its street paving funding budget line from capital to liquid fuels. We are able to do this because of the mild winter, leaving us available funding in liquid fuels. The township spent over $300,000 in snow removal last season and practically nothing this season. Our street paving contract with Glasgow is in the amount of $238,742. Using liquid fuels funding requires what is called a job project with PennDOT's Municipal Services representative. There are many hoops to jump through when using a special fund that is strictly audited by the state. Having said that, photos of Narcissa Road from Hickory to the bridge culvert show that road is falling apart and failing. Director of Public Works has cleared it with Glasgow that they are able to fit paving in their schedule. Mr. Loschiavo has calculated the paving cost estimate around $5,000 additionally. All said, if Narcissa Road is included, the total paving cost would be approximately $290,000. This road is off the beaten track, and there is no doubt that the cost to repair it in future years will be significantly higher. I make a motion that we approve adding Narcissa Road paving from Hickory Road to the bridge culvert to the street paving budget in 2020, and that the budget line go from capital to liquid fuels fund as approved by the state.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Bramblett. There's a motion from Ms. Bramblett. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Ms. Bandish. Any comments or questions from council? Comments or questions from the audience? Okay, seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Gannon?
In favor?
Ms. Bandish?
In favor?
Ms. Bramblett?
In favor?
Mr. Higgins?
In favor.
And the chair votes in favor. Okay. Now, back to anything come up, Mr. Monahan, since the last time I called on you?
No, nothing has come up since you last called on me, but thanks for offering.
Thank you. Thank you. Going down to subdivision and land development plans that are under review. Extension request for 3116 Jolly Road. Mr. Higgins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. 3116 Jolly Road. We have a request for an extension to December 1st, 2020. I make a motion we approve that extension.
A motion for Mr. Higgins. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Ms. Bramblett. Comments or questions from council? Comments or questions from the audience? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Higgins?
In favor.
Ms. Bramblett?
In favor?
Mr. Gannon?
In favor?
Ms. Bandish?
In favor?
And the chair votes in favor. Next is an extension for Plymouth Square Shopping Center. Ms. Bandish.
We have received a land development application from Brixmore Plymouth Square LLC, the owner of the property located at the intersection of Butler Pike and Ridge Pike. It's known as the Plymouth Square Shopping Center. The applicant is requesting an extension to June 30th, 2020. I make a motion that we grant it.
Motion from Ms. Bandish. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Higgins. Comments or questions from council? Comments or questions from the audience? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Higgins?
In favor.
Ms. Bandish?
In favor?
Mr. Gannon,
In favor?
Ms. Bramblett,
In favor?
and the chair votes in favor. And then our third extension request is for 1300 and 1344 East Ridge Pike. That is the Wawa property parking lot expansion. Mr. Gannon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This communication is from Eastford and Gray, and in reference to your aforementioned project at 1300 and 1344 East Ridge Pike, which is Wawa. They are asking for a time extension through and until August 31st, 2020. I make a motion that we approve this.
Motion for Mr. Gannon. Is there a second?
Second.
Second for Mr. Higgins. Comments or questions from council? And comments or questions from the audience? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Ms. Bandish?
In favor?
Mr. Gannon?
In favor?
Ms. Bramblett?
In favor?
Mr. Higgins?
In favor.
And the chair votes in favor. Okay, moving down to a waiver of land development requests for Econ Development at 1103 Ridge Pike. Mr. Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Monero. This is a resolution 2020, and Karen, do we have a number for this?
It'll be numbered after it's voted on,
Okay.
as always, yeah.
Okay. Be it resolved that Plymouth Township Council does hereby waive the land development approval requirements for the installation of a stormwater management facility on the property located at 1103 Ridge Pike, being Montgomery County tax parcel number 49-00-10366-10, as depicted on a plan prepared by Nave Newell Inc., dated March 31st, 2020, on behalf of Econ Development Corp., subject to the following conditions. 1, the owner shall submit for approval a grading permit application and plan in accordance with the Plymouth Township Stormwater Management Ordinance and comply with all requirements of the said ordinance, including without limitation, review and approval of the plan by the township engineer and submission of all applicable fees required by said ordinance. Number 2, that the owner shall obtain the written approval of the Montgomery County Conservation District for the proposed work on the property and shall comply with any and all conditions associated with said approval. Number 3, that the owner shall obtain the written approval of Montgomery County Roads and Bridges Department with regards to the future tie-in of stormwater facilities. 4, that the owner shall execute an indemnification and hold harmless agreement to the effect that the owner is undertaking any and all risk associated with the installation of the facility. 5, that the owner shall prepare and submit revisions to the plan, if any, as required by the township engineer. Duly presented and adopted by Plymouth Township Council at a public meeting held on the 11th day of May, 2020, Plymouth Township, by Christopher G. Monero, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Is there a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved.
Motion for Mr. Higgins. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Ms. Bramblett. Any comments or questions from council? Comments or questions from the audience? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Ms. Bandish?
In favor?
Ms. Bramblett?
In favor?
Mr. Higgins?
In favor.
Mr. Gannon?
In favor?
And the chair votes in favor. Okay, moving down to code enforcement, records disposition resolution. Mr. Gannon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Whereas by virtue of resolution number 1991-53, adopted November 11th, 1991, Plymouth Township declared its intent to follow the procedures for the disposition of records as set forth in the retention and disposition schedule for records of Pennsylvania municipalities issued on May 17th, 1982. And whereas in accordance with Act 428, 1968, each individual act of disposition shall be approved by resolution of the governing body of the municipality. Now therefore be it resolved that Plymouth Township Council, in accordance with the above cited schedule, hereby authorize the disposition of the following public records: Code Department plumbing permits, 10 cubic feet. Adopted 11th day of May 2020. I make a motion that we approve this.
Okay, motion for Mr. Gannon. Is there a second?
Second?
Second from Ms. Bandish. Comments or questions from council? And comments or questions from the audience? Okay, seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Ms. Bandish?
In favor?
Mr. Higgins?
In favor?
Mr. Gannon?
In favor?
Ms. Bramblett?
In favor?
And the chair votes in favor. Okay, going down to Parks and Rec, our service and devotion monument announcement. This is just a reminder that individuals are able to purchase bricks and pavers to honor a loved one who has served. 3 sizes are available: 4x8, 12x12, and 24x24, starting at $75. The pavers have the option for a logo at an additional cost. Available logos are Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, and Plymouth Township Police, Plymouth Community Ambulance Association, Plymouth Fire Company, and Harmonville Fire Company. We are still seeking monetary donations from businesses who are interested in becoming a supporter. In return for a donation, a laser-etched granite plaque will be displayed prominently on the 3-tier donor wall. Purchase of bricks and pavers is ongoing, and orders will be placed several times a year. For more information, order forms and for order forms, residents can visit www.plymouthcommunitycenter.org or call the Greater Plymouth Community Center. Next item under Parks and Rec is the East Plymouth Valley Park Grant Resolution, and that will go to Ms. Bramblett.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Be it resolved that the Plymouth Township of Montgomery County hereby request a Greenways, Trails, and Recreation Program grant of $250,000 from the Commonwealth Financing Authority to be used for the proposed improvement within East Plymouth Valley Park. That is, playground upgrades, parking lot expansion, and pedestrian access path construction. Be it further resolved that the applicant does hereby designate Karen Weiss, Township Manager, as the official to execute all documents and agreements between Plymouth Township and the Commonwealth Financing Authority to facilitate and assist in obtaining the requested grant. Karen Weiss, duly qualified Secretary of Plymouth Township, Montgomery County, PA, will hereby certify that the foregoing is a true and correct copy of a resolution duly adopted by a majority vote of the Township Council at a regular meeting held on May 11, 2020. And said resolution has been recorded in the minutes of Plymouth Township and remains in effect as of this date. In witness, Ms. Weiss will affix her hand and attach the seal of Plymouth Township on this 11th day of May 2020. I make a motion that we adopt this resolution for the improvement grant for East Plymouth Valley Park.
There's a motion from Ms. Bramblett. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Gannon. Any comments or questions from council? Comments or questions from the audience? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Gannon?
In favor?
Ms. Bramblett?
In favor?
Ms. Bandish?
In favor?
Mr. Higgins?
In favor?
And the chair votes in favor. Yeah, moving down to Citizen Board vacancy announcements. Ms. Bramblett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. All residents wishing to serve on the following citizen boards are asked to submit their resume or a letter stating their interest to the Township Manager, 700 Belvoir Road, Plymouth Meeting, PA, 19462, or by email to kweiss@plymouthtownship.org. The following citizen board positions are open. 2 positions open on Property Maintenance Code Appeals Board. 1 position open on the Historical Architectural Review Board.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Bramblett. One item I wanted to read here, I have an email that I received from Judy Trombetta, who's the Chief of Staff of State Senator Dalen Leach, asking that we read this into the public comment section. So I'll do this first. This is just a letter from Senator Leach. As your state senator, I wanted to offer an update on the issues we've been working on in Harrisburg and in the community. Despite my office being physically closed, my staff and I have been working harder than ever to assist our constituents. We strive to be a source of information and support during these challenging times, so we've started sending out newsletters on a weekly basis. which offers information about the latest news, important resources, and grant opportunities for municipalities, individuals, and small businesses. In addition, we've started doing regular telephone town halls, Facebook Live events, and Zoom meetings. If you haven't done so already, please consider visiting my webpage and signing up to receive information at www.senatorleach.com/subscribe. To date, more than 1.7 million Pennsylvanians have filed for regular unemployment compensation. An additional 136,000 have filed for pandemic unemployment assistance. Regretfully, our system was not equipped for the demand that we are currently seeing, and my constituents have experienced a myriad of issues related to filing their claims. My office is available to help. We have legislative liaisons with whom we work to resolve these matters. If you or someone you know is still having problems, please contact my office at senatorleach@pasenate.com or 610-768-4200. By now, I'm sure you're aware that Pennsylvania has postponed the primary election date to June 2nd. I'm urging all Pennsylvania voters to vote in the safety of their own homes in June by voting by mail. You can apply to receive your mail-in ballot by going to votespa.com and filling out a form, or you can contact my office and we will gladly mail you a paper application. Voters have until 5 p.m. on May 26th to apply. In April, my office worked with the Wolf administration to make changes to Pennsylvania's medical marijuana program. Pennsylvania dispensaries now have curbside sales consistent with social distancing recommendations. This has really been helpful to protect patients and staff. While we've recently learned that the governor has extended his stay-at-home orders for our area until June 4th, the state has also recently lifted restrictions on certain businesses and in certain locations. Still following life-sustaining business guidance, golf courses, marinas, and campgrounds are now open for business. I know that these orders have caused great hardship to many, and I'm hoping to have further thoughtful discussion about how to safely and responsibly reopen our community soon. Finally, many first responders and compromised individuals in the community have expressed the need for masks and hand sanitizer, and I have been distributing what supplies I am able to acquire. If you or someone you know is in need, please contact my office. Thank you for your time and for your hard work and dedication to your constituents under such difficult circumstances. Please stay safe, and we'll all get through this together. Senator Dalen Leach. In addition to that, I just wanted to remind everybody that today, Montgomery County did officially pass the revisions to the polling locations for this year's Pennsylvania primary election, and we will have those new polls, new polling locations posted on our township website and our Facebook page, in addition to the information for where you can apply for your mail-in ballot, as mentioned there in the comments from the senator. Are there any other new business from council? Any comments or questions from the audience? Okay. If there is nothing else, we will adjourn for the evening. All right, meeting adjourned.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Be safe, everybody.